Over 200 years ago, a young soldier from a small island changed the world. His name, Napoleon Bonaparte. Hello and welcome to this channel. Today we're looking at the great Napoleon. Let's get started. Napoleon wasn't born into greatness. In fact, his beginnings were quite humble. He was born on the island of Corsica, which at the time was a part of a republic. You know, way before France owned it. Napoleon's family wasn't rich or famous. They were just regular folks trying to make their way in the world. But little Napoleon had big dreams. He wanted more than what his island and his family could offer him. So when he grew up, he did something crazy. He joined the French army. You know, the country that had taken over his island. At first, his fellow soldiers didn't take him seriously. He was short, kind of fat, and didn't look like your typical hero. But Napoleon had a secret weapon, his brain. He was a genius when it came to tactics and strategy, and soon enough, he was winning battles that seemed impossible. As Napoleon rose through the ranks, he kept climbing and climbing until he was in charge of the whole shebang. Now, when Napoleon took over, France wasn't exactly doing so hot. The economy was a mess. The people were fed up and the country was about to blow. But Napoleon had a plan. He would fix the economy, make the people happy, and turn France into a powerhouse again. And guess what? He actually pulled it off. His economic policies were so good that even today, more than 200 years later, they're considered some of the best ever. He also made a bunch of new laws that helped the French people and made him really popular. Later, he even crowned himself emperor. Yeah, you heard that right. He put an actual crown on his head and became emperor. And not just emperor of France, but of most of Europe too. He was like the king of kings, but without the fancy coronation. Now, you might be wondering why everyone did unlove Napoleon, since he was basically a dictator who took over half of Europe. Well, here's the thing. Napoleon wasn't like other dictators. He wasn't all about crushing people and taking their stuff. He was actually pretty fair, especially for the time period. He didn't care if you were a peasant or a prince. If you played by the rules, you were good in his book. Plus, he was a bit of a softie. I mean, he loved his mama more than anything in the world. Even though he ruled like a god over most of Europe, he still wrote letters to her like he was just a little kid. Yeah, that's how much he loved her. But not everyone was happy with Napoleon's rise to power. The people who lost their land and their money under his rule weren't exactly fans. And then there were the other countries in Europe who didn't like that he was getting a bit too powerful. Soon enough, it was all-out war. Napoleon's army went up against the whole of Europe. It was epic. There were battles and sieges and campaigns that lasted 4 years. But no matter how many soldiers the other countries threw at him, Napoleon kept winning. It was like he was a one-man army. But even though he won tons of battles, he couldn't win them all. In 1812, he decided to invade Russia, and that's when things got bad. His army got so big that there wasn't enough food for everyone, and the Russians kept taunting them, making them even hungrier. Then winter hit, and it was brutal. Napoleon's soldiers were freezing and starving, and they couldn't fight anymore. So they started retreating, but it was too late. Disease and exhaustion took over, and thousands upon thousands of soldiers died. It was the end of Napoleon's dream. He was exiled to a small island far away from France. But Napoleon wasn't done yet. He escaped and came back to power for 100 glorious days. But in the end, he was defeated and sent away again. This time to a tiny island in the middle of nowhere. That was the end of Napoleon, the great emperor who had once ruled most of Europe. Napoleon might have been just a small guy with big dreams from a tiny island. He might have been short, kind of fat, and not so handsome. But when it came to leading an army or making tough decisions, he was a giant. He was a true leader who inspired his people and his soldiers to do great things. He showed them that even a small guy from a tiny island can make a big difference in the world, if he has the guts and the brains to go after his dreams. Hey, thanks for watching. Do you think Napoleon was a hero or a villain? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories from history. See?